Good morning and welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at A Haggerty 10 and I'm joined today, as you can see, by a man who's now become a good close personal friend, but also a man who is a Sony award-winning comedian and big Celtic supporter. And I don't know these days if he's Tommy Sheridan or Bertie Auld or Des McLean, man of many voices and many guises. All I can say is, Des, welcome to the show.
Tony, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah,
Sorry for anybody tuning in. It just started spinning there, and I didn't. I don't mean me. It genuinely, in my Wi-Fi signals wall to wall at 10 feet tall, and I just thought, oh no, I've lost the connection. I've lost the audience. Apologies. It did. It was just the minute you went one of. So I don't know what you said. I'm now getting paranoid.
Okay. I introduced you as a man of many voices. I said, I don't know if it's Des McLean, Tommy Sheridan, or Bertie Auld that I'm talking to, but a Sony award-winning comedian as well, but one of the best, arguably the best comedian on the circuit. And welcome, Des, and we're here to talk everything Celtic. How are you, sir?
Listen, it's a pleasure, it's a privilege, as always. You know, you and I can talk all day, and a wee warning, we probably will. If you're going to your work. But just a wee quick, just in case anybody thinks Des McLean now goes to the pub at 10 o'clock on a Friday, well, you're kind of a half right. This is my garage. This was my gigs during lockdown. So it's a wee garage called Harry's Bar. It's a pub now. It's got draft lager. It's got scampy pies. It's got taxi numbers. It's got Wi-Fi numbers. I've even got a wee old guy in the toilet giving out lollipops and deodorant. You know, I've been working here for 3 years, son. So I think we're all sorted now. Sorry about the buffering in the first.
All right.
Because I hate not to hear my intro. You know how much just in case anybody's watching. Look, might as well get this. This actually goes nicely on a t-shirt. Bend It Liberty is back at the Pavilion Theatre in February, so it's the perfect Christmas present for any Celtic fan, young and old. It's an incredible. We played Vegas. We played it all over, but it's finally, for the last time, Tony, emotional stuff. You're a very emotional man. Bend It Liberty. I'm not asking you to scan it right now, but there you go. It's at the Pavilion in February. That's your Christmas present sorted. Thanks for the plug, Tony. Have a good weekend. Cheers.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be one of those shows, ladies and gentlemen, but yeah, we'll get through it. And before we start, I'll just ask you to divert your eyes to the ticker tape running along the bottom, and you help us support top quality football journalism covering the club you love by clicking that subscribe button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. If you like what we do, it's cost £4 for 4 months of access to everything that we write on the website, all that stuff. There's something for everybody on there, but the YouTube videos are free. We get guests like Des on, as you can see, and various others. We try to keep you entertained, and you'll be entertained today. I guarantee that. Now, Des, first and foremost, I wanted to get your views on Celtic. First, we'll start with what you thought about the other night. Final, Celtic lost 2-0. First Champions League Group E match, reduced to 9 men, all of that kind of stuff. So what was your thoughts watching that?
Where do we start? Okay. But see, the thing is, right, I was saying this in my wee Celtic group chat. See, when you consider that Rangers get pumped 5-1 with PSV, and we get beat 2-0 with the champions, right, of the Dutch champions, we escaped with a 2-0. We were down to 9 men. Right. When's the last time Celtic were just say 9 men, Tony? There's a bit of trivia.
I can't actually remember. I was racking my brains and I couldn't come up with it, but I'm sure somebody will be able to tell us in the comments.
A wee tidbit for you, a wee bit of a trivia tidbit. So we're down to 9 men. I was expecting a 5, 6, 7-0 pummeling. I thought we fell apart. Let's be honest here, right? All things considered. Now, that's the Dutch champions. That's the top of the tree, right? You think Ajax and PSV are actually lower than them. And look what happened to Rangers when they went over there. Now, here's the thing. We did stand toe-to-toe with them right up until half-time in minutes beyond half time, right at the injury time. And we were actually, we made them look quite ordinary. We made them look, we were actually, once again, Scales, had probably the best player. It was frustrating, Tony. You've written a few books. You could actually write about Celtic's long-running glorious failures. The amount of times, remember the night with Jakanowski 5-4 and all that. Oh, so near, but oh, so far. Celtic, there's never a dull moment. And I don't mean that in a good way. Celtic in Europe over the last few years, it's just been, you could not write it. Honestly, domestically, yes, we've ruled the roost. But in Europe, it's just a real problem. I don't know if it's down to us just going, yes, we're Celtic, cavalier approach, let's go for them, let's not. But it just always goes, it's incredible. I mean, there's no question the free kick. Martin ONeills said, what is Kyogo doing? He's the smallest man in the park. He's the smallest man in the park. What is he doing in that wall? And you're thinking, what was that? I mean, we were talking in the last podcast about Larsson's goal being 5-a-side Sunday football, but was that not? That was kind of 5-a-side. That was Sunday morning tactics. The weakest guy, shove him in the middle where they're probably going to hit the ball. And I know it's all right for us sitting here saying, but this is a European. This is sticking the smallest guy in the wall, and you can blame Joe Hart, you can blame it, but it just wasn't good enough. I know it's all right for us to sit here. So after that, I was glad. I just thought it's going to be damage limitation, but they're a top quality Dutch outfit, and we escaped. We're 2-0. So all things considered, it wasn't a disaster, and I wasn't going, oh, we were terrible. 2 men sent off, stupid schoolboy errors, couple of acts of folly. It was just ridiculous. The Lager Bielk, or how it worked, that's one of these ones yet again. I don't think it was a sending off. I don't think it was a penalty. I mean, the guy. I mean, it was one of these ones. He put out his hand, but once again, it's a contact sport. Penalty, no chance. But once again, in a big game like that, you're 2-0 down away. You're never going to come back. That was it. It was just irreversible damage. So we just need to take a hit for that one. And I believe we can beat these 3 teams at Parkhead.
Right, you took the words out of my mouth. I wrote a piece yesterday saying if Celtic can channel the spirit of Martin ONeill's team, they were the first team to get into the Champions League group section and win all 3 games at home and still not qualify. I still don't rule this out for Celtic to do that in this section because none of those teams scare me, Des, right? No. But we have to make that a European priority. Our home games, they have to work on winning them. I know it's easier said than done, but it's going to determine whether you can go through this section or not. Your home form is now crucial, and if you can beat Lazio, you put the Italians in a bit of a situation. So home in that, concentrate on that at European level. I know we've got Livingston next, all that kind of stuff, but your home form is now crucial, Des, and the Lazio game has become pivotal now in the group, I think, because I think it's going to be a cutthroat group.
There's no question. That was by no means a group of death. Like we've had groups before when we went, pull the trigger now, we're out, right? However, when that draw was made, I thought we've escaped a few serious landmines here. When I just thought, right, wait a minute, these 3 teams, we can beat them at Parkhead. Could we go away and do what we done 3 years ago and get another wee win at Lazio? Probably not, right? You know what I mean? That was one of these nights. But you never know. You're right, we need 9 points from the 3 games at Celtic Park. With that, that atmosphere is incredible. We've beaten Barcelona with Efe Ambrose in the defence. So anything's possible, to be honest. Sorry, Efe, but So anything can happen at Parkhead. We can take on the best. That atmosphere is a 12. And the Celtic fan, it's a 12th man. There's no question about that. But we need to win all 3 and then hope that could take you through, or hope that we can maybe get a wee draw somewhere. Because the other night, I believe it could have, if that hadn't happened just before half time, we could have got something to that game. We could have.
Yep. Michael Ross comes in and says, 10 years, Tony, since Celtic last went home. I'm very much aware of that, Michael, but I want to flip that on its head. I really do. I just... Celtic's European record of late, Lazio apart, Neil Lennon's team that won that Europa League group, it's appalling for a club like Celtic. It is appalling. I mean, there's no getting away from that. and I want to flip that logic on its head, and I want Celtic to win. What I want and what I'll get is two different things, but I still think that side is capable of growing into that section and winning those 3 home games. Could be wrong. I could be, could be deluded, but I don't think so. I think Brendan Rodgers himself is saying this is a kind of team in transition, a work in progress, which brings us back to the title of the briefing. Was Brendan Rodgers right not to be content with a lack of signings? Now, that's a different argument altogether, but like you, I believe if Celtic hadn't conceded an injury time in the first half, they were going toe-to-toe with Feyenoord. You said they were the Dutch champions, and the team talk was completely different at 1-0 than it was at 0-0. And I thought for all of that first half until that free kick, Celtic were fiercely competitive in that match, and it was there for them. And then either side of half time, it just imploded, and they lost basically.
It was tough enough with 11 men, but to go down to 9, I just thought, right, this is it. What can we do? Just shore up, damage limitation. But it's totally unacceptable. But I'm the same as you. I'm optimistic. I don't think they've been too deluded, and I think Celtic over there, they were not. I mean, this was not Real Madrid or Barcelona. They looked very ordinary. We did compete with them. Gave them a gift.
And they were builders that days. I expected to see a team come flying out the traps and really hurt Celtic. And after half an hour, I was like, we're doing okay here. Didn't want to tempt fate, but we were holding our own. And the chances, the kind of opportunities that we created, a wee bit more composure and coolness. Hatate could have slipped in. Hatate, he'd a free shot at goal. It was powder puff. He never caught a hold of it. Palmer's drifted in and he's hit a defender attempting the curler, and you're thinking better execution, just cool heads, and that separates the good players from the class players, I think, at these levels. So these are the things that you need to tighten up on and get a grip on. And if you can do that, and I don't think it's beyond Celtic, then there's joy for them in this section. I really believe that.
Listen, how Celtic fans, to say that Celtic fans are fickle is an understatement. They are. I mean, it's like, fine, domestically, we've been amazing the last few years, right? But, in Europe, we need to make it count, and you can't win, right? It was hilarious. You couldn't, comedy gold. I was looking at the Twitter feed and all that with Celtic and looking at social media and what have you. Everybody's screaming for Hatate to get in the team last week, right? Yeah, man, he's too good to be sitting on the bench. There's no way Turnbull, right? I agree. The guy, you can't have Turnbull playing when you've got a guy, right? So the minute they throw Hatate on, change the game against him, change the game. That's what you call quality. That's our defence now. Hatate, O'Reilly, right, and McGregor. 20 minutes into the game, Hatate's no fit. Get him to right. You can't win. So the guy's no fit. He's not any games, right? And we're all saying how much a world beater and how much a game changer he was last week. But 20 minutes to half an hour into the game, get him off. It's not working for him. The guy's had half a game. He's had one half domestically, right? In a relatively, easy enough game. And then in Europe, they're all shouting to Hatate get. And there was a few for Kyogo as well. Take him off. How many times has Kyogo popped up at the last minute and saved us in games? So you've got to laugh at all that as well. Celtic fans are never happy. But listen, this is still. The Rangers result was incredible, right? Nobody thought we were going to go there and come back with that result, and especially when the team was announced, right?
I did.
Well, we did actually. You're an incredibly brilliant man, right? You're a prophet, prophetic. You did actually. That's right. Only an idiot would have thought we were. Anyway, so vast majority thought. But let's make no mistake, that is still half a team. We went to. But it's still, that's not the finished article. You still get guys like Vickers and Noravsky. I'm very proud that I pronounced that okay, I think. Or is it Norocky? No, Rocky. Right. So we've still got half a team, and I'm sorry, but Liam Steele still isn't first choice, and the other boy who's a wee bit. So remember, we've still got Carter, Vickers, and all these guys to come back. We've still got Hatate to get up to match fitness. And you can never. How can MD have a go at Kyogo? Oh, he was terrible the other night. This is a guy who saved us, unbelievable, the best since Larson and all that, right? So we are still half a team and there's still a lot of people working up to their fitness. The league's only started a few weeks. So, but you're right, I don't think there's any excuses for us not beating these 3 teams at Parkhead. If we drop points, we don't really deserve to go through, but we need to try and nick something, a draw away. See that game the other night, I was very surprised at how poor they were. And also, it wasn't exactly... See, you go to like Ajax or something, right, and it's a real, powder keg, partisan. It was a real flat atmosphere. Did you hear the atmosphere of the game as well?
I thought so too. I was pretty disappointed in Feyenoord, and that's why I was disappointed in Celtic, because I allowed myself to think these guys are there for the taking, and then, as I say, either side of half time just imploded and it all went wrong. And I just thought it's kind of microcosmic of Celtic in Europe the last 10, 20 years, whatever way you want to spin it. You just say to yourself, you've watched this movie on repeat, haven't you? You've listened to this LP on repeat, and every time they say we're going to learn from mistakes, and it just seems to be the same conversations you're having ad infinitum. And I know I was talking about the O'Neill era, and O'Neill was in the studio talking about the game and giving his comments, but I get back to that time when you felt secure that Celtic were going to win their home games, and you knew they were going to score away from home. That team, and I know it's a different time and all that, I get all that, but you have to flip this narrative. Celtic cannot continue to be as poor in the Champions League or in Europe for ad infinitum. It's just, I think it's unacceptable, because there are clubs that are smaller than Celtic with smaller budgets that punch above their weight, because basically they're a force to be reckoned with at home. That's what I'm talking about. So you have to give yourself any kind of fighting chance. You've got to be decent at home.
Listen, especially Celtic with that incredible support. You look at Celtic at a European night at Parkhead compared to that the other night. I mean, that was just like a normal Saturday game against a mid-table. I was very surprised. Yeah. But yes, we have to. And I'll let you in a secret. See, about 30, 40 minutes in, I was sitting watching, and I thought, right, this could be a wee cheeky Lazio result. I just thought, we can nick, because nobody was expecting anything. It wasn't far off the team that went out against Rangers. As I say, there was guys there still no up to match fitness, and I thought, you know what? I think Celtic were surprised at the chances to go as well. It was the first half. I thought, we're going in here level, and we can maybe nick this in the second half. So it's always hard luck stories with Celtic. It's always, I know that this happened and that happened, and I know that yet again we were reduced to 9 men, which was bizarre. But I think, if that hadn't happened, it would have been a different story. And I know there's probably people sitting going, I know, but we always make excuses for Celtic. There's always a wee hard luck story. But you're right. When you look at the bigger picture, the consistency is not there in Europe. It's bizarre how bad. And you see all the stats the next on Facebook. Celtic have went this amount of time without winning. It's frightening. You just can't put your finger on Celtic. It's so poor.
Yeah, and that is it. We've had Scott Gordon Strachan took 2 teams into the Champions League last 16. You know what I mean? And Neil Lennon won the Europa League group, but it's been sporadic success, hasn't it, the last 20 years since more or less Martin ONeills left in Seville. So, and for a club like Celtic, I can't understand why they can't be competitive both in Europe and domestically. I mean, domestically they're sweeping the boards, we get that, but the fans now crave something more, don't they? They want that success on the European stage, and again, that leads us back to the title of the briefing. And this is what Rodgers was asked yesterday. When you reflect back in the business that you've done in the transfer window just gone, are you content with what you brought in? This is what he said, Des. No, I think if you ask any manager, they'll always be wanting more. Of course, we work with the players that are here, and I'm not saying that in any disrespectful way, but every manager will tell you that they wish they could have done 1 or 2 more signings. The window closed, we had the players that we had in, and I'm a coach and a manager, and we will work with the very best players at our disposal to make our performance level the best we can possibly be. Now we're already preparing for the January window and the summer window. Now, that was spun in all sorts of different ways. You can read what you want into that, Des, but Do you think they brought in enough players, or do you think that maybe they brought in quantity but not quality? The ones that Brendan was looking for. He's talking about power and pace at one point, wasn't he? Do you think they just lacked the quality signings, or like everything else, everybody's latching onto the fact that they announced those cracking set of figures and saying they should have released the purse strings a bit more? So is it the fine balancing act we've got here about getting those kind of quality players to come to Scotland? Because you're selling it on the Champions League, but you're not selling it on Ross County away, really, are you? Or Livingston away, that kind of thing.
But isn't this why Rodgers came back?
That's what we had that conversation, didn't we?
We had that conversation. And I remember listening to, one day I was listening to Talk Sport, and it was Simon Jordan and Souness and all that talking away, and they were talking about Rodgers coming back, and Souness says, I think this is what Souness said. He went, I think this is bad news for Rangers. Anyway, I won't do the voice. He says, I think this is bad news. And Simon Jordan said, why? And he says, because Rodgers does not need to go back to Celtic. He doesn't need the hassle. He must be promised a war chest, because he must go back and go, right, I'm coming back, but I'm not putting up with any snash. I want money. I want to compete in Europe. He's won the leagues. He's won the trebles. He's won everything up here with Celtic. So he's thinking, I want to sit
next stage.
I want to sit at the top table. I want to play with the big guns. So if I get the money, and you would imagine, we don't know, but you'd imagine they would go, yes, all that's there this time. There'll be no more hassle with the last time. We didn't give you the money for John McGinn. We won't go there, da-da-da. He must have sat there and says, right, this time I want to sit there. And I want this guy, I want that guy. And the fact that he said no, he didn't get the players, that's a slight concern. And is that a dig? Is it a dig at the board?
Well, he said he wasn't being disrespectful, but it's kind of out there in the ether now, so people are attaching their own narrative to it. You know,
don't take a slang right, Tony, but you've put weight on. You know that one. No, but he's gave it though. I'm not being disrespectful. However, there are a bunch of times. Anyway, I'm not swearing.
I don't mean anything by this, but there's an insult coming, or there's some kind of bad comment coming. Yeah,
this to be disrespectful. Bang, totally disrespectful. So it was Brendan talks sometimes like a salesman. He talks sometimes like a politician, and we know that, right? And that to me was a thinly veiled, you know what? Where are the players? He's no daft. He's keeping his cell covered, didn't he? It's like, well, if we get battered in Europe, I did ask for this guy. I wanted this guy. I wanted this. And let's be honest, Liam Scales outstanding the last couple of games, no question. But if you were to say to Rodgers, is this guy's going to be playing against Rangers, going to be playing in Europe? He would never have. He'd have been, no, this guy's my fourth choice. No, that. Don't get me wrong, he's came good. I'm chuffed with the guy. However, he's got to say that. There's no way Rodgers is going to come out and go, yeah, I'm really happy with everybody we brought in, and I'm happy with. No. So the question I asked, have we replaced Jota? Probably not. We brought a couple of guys in that we haven't seen yet. The other night was probably maybe a wee pressure pot, too big a stage for them to they need a few games here to kind of show the fans what they can do. But Rodgers was always going to say that. And I think it's quite mild. It's not like, it's not as if both Barrow's going, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. It's too early in the day. He must have sat down with all them and says, I want to make a mark in Europe. We need to get Celtic back doing things in Europe. And it's not happened. So it's a kind of a diplomatic dig at them, but without, pointing the finger too much.
Right, without the fire and the brimstone, basically, But I mean, I look at it as well. It's one game in the Champions League. You have 5 games to rectify this. 3 being at home. You've got a double dunter at home. Those 2 are now pivotal. You have to win them to take it down to the fighting chance that Brendan Rodgers said in the last home game against Feyenoord. But if we're talking about Celtic winning those 3 home games, then that has to be. I'm not saying it's going to be a given, but you have to win against Lazio and Atletico Madrid. And I know that's a step up in class probably from Feyenoord, but you'd like to think that Celtic will have grown into a style and a philosophy as well by the time these games roll around, and they'll be equipped for them better. There might be some players returning as well, and as you say, you just cannot underestimate Celtic at Celtic Park with the crowd and all that behind them on a Champions League night, and strange things happen on those kind of nights. We've seen it many times before, and I want it to happen again.
that night against Barcelona is still one of the nights where you go, with that second goal went in, you just think, did that really happen? That was one of the top, best informed Barcelona teams. This was not just a team who didn't want to win. So yes, consistency has been. It's been terrible. However, we get the odd wee Lazio away or Barcelona at Celtic Park, and your hopes get raised, but just not enough. But you're right. It's got to be 9 points at Parkhead or bust. It's as simple as that. If we drop any points at Parkhead, we don't deserve to get through. Then we don't deserve. If we drop any points at Parkhead, I think.
Yeah. No, lots of people coming and
point. Win away, then fine, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Thomas Burns comes in and says it's not one game, Tony. It's 20 years. I'm well aware of that. I'm well aware of that. And Brown Warrior comes in and says, that's a pipe dream, 3 wins. Is it? Brendan has 2 wins in the Champions League in his entire career as a manager. Yeah, time to make it 5. That's the bottom line. He'll have to make it 5 if he wants to qualify. That's the kind of stats we're talking about here. So why can't Celtic do that at home? Why can't they be fiercely competitive at these 3 home games in the Champions League, and what happens away happens? I want them to be as fiercely competitive as possible. And we can't keep harping on about the past. We have to flip this narrative on its head. We need to be better, and we need to start winning football matches in Europe, especially at home. That's what I'm saying.
And also, there was teams like Rosenborg and Copenhagen who always got to the latter stages. And you're thinking, they're not bigger clubs than Celtic. They don't have the money, they don't have the fan base. So we kind of keep using this excuse. You kind of go, because we play in the SPL, Rangers got to a final last year, so you kind of keep it's unacceptable. And Brown Warrior, I know you're saying, it's a pipe dream, but we need to start believing. We can't just go, apathy's setting again, we're not going to do it.
The manager said that. He said these are belief games. Games. You have to believe. I think that's part and parcel of the problem as well. We have that kind of complex now about Europe. But we have to shed that. We have to start believing that we're as good as these teams. We've every right to be there. We've earned the right to be there. So go and show it.
And exactly the same belief that we install at Celtic Park. At Celtic Park, teams do not like coming to Celtic Park. Even your Barcelona's not come and they go, what's going on here? What is this incredible atmosphere? And then that night when we beat Rangers 3-0 last January, remember? That is one of the most atmospheres. I was at that game and I thought we would have beat MD tonight. It was just pure belief. It was just pure. Right. So at Parkhead in a European night, we can take on anybody. I mean, we went toe-to-toe with Real Madrid. I know we keep saying this, the best we can do is toe-to-toe, but up until half-time, if that McGregor thing had went in, you never know, but that was the top team then. So we're always just there or thereabouts, but this time, we do not have the Real Madrids, the Barcelonas and all that. We have got 3 beatable teams at Parkhead anyway. Fair enough, we don't know what's going to happen away. I would expect not a lot, but at Parkhead, you'd be looking, pure belief.
Definitely. So I'll ask you, Des, going back to the lack of signings, or do you think there was any specific positions that Celtic should have targeted in the transfer window and brought in? And I'm not asking you to name players per se, but is there anything that's really lacking just now?
Well, it's a shame that obviously our most missed. That we had this argument. Who was you last year? Who's the guy that if he's out the team, we kind of really miss him, we fall apart? I would say it's Big Carter Vickers. He's just a rock. You miss him badly, and it's incredible that the difference. And we've kind of patched it up slightly and got away with it just now. You're not going to get away with the season. We've got away with it. We've got away with it at Ibrox. But here's the thing, if we had a full-strength side and Jota was still there, Carter Vickers was fit, people kept saying, we need a left-back and a goalkeeper, left-back. Joe Hart was outstanding at Ibrox, right? And he saved a penalty the other night. Joe Hart it doesn't take much for Celtic fans to go in their back. Yeah. It really is. And I just thought Hart was coming in for a lot of, you would go into Celtic Twitter, Celtic would lose, Celtic would put the ball in Midley Park and they'd be like, that's Hart's fault, right? It was for everything. And I'm thinking, the guy's an experienced keeper. He's not making mistakes every week. You saw him in Europe. He seemed to kind of step up to play. He saved a penalty. Brilliant, best game probably at Ibrox, I would say. So no, I don't think we desperately needed a keeper. No doubt, the feedback will come in saying, yeah, we do. that kind of unsettles the team as well. And new keepers, you don't think so? A lot of pressures on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It really does. So you would rather a guy who's a safe pair of hands, you know. And do we need any more centre halves? I don't know. We've got how many? Just say they were all fit. How many have we got then? About at the moment, 6.
Yeah, you can't legislate for the bad luck that they had in terms of injuries for your centre halves. That's just that's something you can't account for at all. You know, who would have thought Carter Vickers would be out, Norowski would be out, Welsh would be out. You know, Nat Phillips comes and rolls his ankle at half time in the very first game that he plays. He's now a doubt for Saturday as well. I mean, that's just horrendous luck. You can't legislate for that at
Martin
all.
Still injured.
Yes, indeed. But so that's luck that you can't. That no signings are going to paper over that horrendous run of luck. So that's fair enough. But I mean, there was other people talking about should have brought in another striker because they're very reliant on Kyogo. And if the other night it's not happening, you know, this kind of target man in the Giakoumakis mould, like people saying, they've no replaced him. And
I think that was a mistake. That was a mistake. Yeah.
I don't like harping back to players that are not here anymore and not in the building, but it doesn't stop you from thinking, would Giakoumakis have done a job the other night? You're damn tooting he would have done a job.
Yeah.
Was it tailor-made for him? Yeah, horses for courses and all that kind of thing. You know, a big guy to trouble the defence. But as you say, how can you have any bad words to say about Kyogo? But I think there's an over-reliance on him at times, and especially in these games, and then the pressure's cranked up now because he's not scored in the Champions League, all that, and then again you were saying best since Larson, and then people say a win by all your head and all that because he's not scored in the Champions League. So you can never win. This is how it turns to be with Celtic. You know, you're either sugar or, as they say, you know. So what do you do? You know, but I think maybe moving forward we'll all have a more prominent role to play. You'd maybe think so. So we'll see what happens and see how that develops.
I mean, we do have some players who look as though they could be really good potential. You know, Yang and these two boys they brought in, Bernardo and all that. We've not seen them yet. These guys could turn out to be great. They brought in a lot at the same time. You're watching these guys. I know that everybody looks good on YouTube, but you're thinking this guy looks the part of this. So we've got a lot of players there waiting to bed in. Striker-wise, yes, we do need a backup. If anything happens to Kyogo, what we're going to do? I don't think is, you know, I don't think he's as good a forward as Giakoumakis. No chance.
No.
I don't think the big Jackie done anything wrong. It's just something must have happened with him. And
I just think he wanted game time, Des, and he wasn't going to get it because Kyogo was. Kyogo was king domestically, wasn't he? But
so yes, I think we need another proven striker, somebody who, because if the unthinkable happens and Kyogo's out, where do we go? You know, so you know, in our group chat, I was calling the Korean Cascarino. You know, he's just one of these big guys that. No, it's just like you see him and you're like,
that's a bit harsh.
Right, but he's just frustrating. You kind of go, that, and you're thinking, you know, another decent striker. But I mean, you put big Giakoumakis in that, you know, amount of chances he gets. He put them away. He was good. He's very much a big Hearts and S, you know, type player, don't he?
I think that's what kind of struck me, the fact that he was a kind of one-touch, two-touch striker in the box, and he was decent in the air, and as your dad would say to you, he could rummel up defences, son. He could rummel them up, you know. So I think that's what was maybe required of it. But I go back to it as well. Kyogo was starved of any real decent service. Hatate should have looked up and played him in. He'd have won and won. And it's that decision making at that level as well, which you get away with in Scotland, but you don't get away with it at Champions League level. Let's be honest.
No. And that's, again, you know, go back to the Hatate, you know, the whole, you know, get Hatate on, Turnbull isn't Celtic class, Hatate, and then he get dogs abuse because he wasn't match fit. Well, what do you do? You know, it's a catch-22. So, if Celtic had got a result the other night and we've just come off the back of winning at Ibrox, everything would be, you went all these questions about signings, wouldn't they be? You would be pointing the finger at the usual. But it's incredible about one game. By the way, remember, we didn't get pummeled the other night. Let's be honest. even Mystic Tony would have said you weren't expecting a victory over there, were you?
No, I think I said 2 each. There you go.
I mean, I think a draw would have been a result for us to take a point away any. But after the first 40 minutes, I thought we could nick this.
Yeah,
we could.
I started to believe like yourself. Yeah,
and I thought that if we go to the second half, because Maeda frustrates me at times with his final ball and all that. He does. He's just. But however, that's the kind of game where he would have just chased the ball and they wouldn't have seen him coming, and then bang, it's in the net. It's a kind of game where you just. Somebody like him does something extraordinary that you're not expecting. As I say, you're sitting watching him again and you're going, what are you doing? What was that ball? Where do you kick that to? What is it? And then you're that magic for Kyogo, just one of these wee bang, he goes someday. And I thought that could happen in the second half, but no. It was incredible to get down to 9 men. Is anybody out there, remind us of or tell us when we last had 9 men in a game?
Somebody in the group chat said it might have been Hamburg. When Di Canio was there, I think.
Di Canio would have been over 2 the man sent off.
He gets sent off, and somebody else gets sent off. I believe. I can't remember. I think again, I would need to check it out, but I think it was round about then. I think Celtic lost to Hamburg, and the 2 men sent off. I'm sure in the European tie. So that would be late 90s, wouldn't it? Be 97 somewhere around about then, 90. I run about then, 96, 97, something like that. So somebody in the group chat might be able to enlighten us, but I think that's the last time, certainly, because it's very, very rare that Celtic get 2 men sent off in any game. But looking forward, they've now got Livingston, plastic pitch et al. On Saturday, and Celtic have come a cropper there in the past. We know the pitfalls of that. Brendan said he won't use that as an excuse, but what would you do? Do you freshen it up, or do you give the same team who played that first half the chance to go and redeem themselves at Livingston? Because I actually thought they were playing very well in that first half until the concession of the goal. So, and I liked the way they were shaped up and the way they were playing. So I want to see more of Palma. I thought he was disappointing again, the final ball and all that, but certain things he did, he could beat a man, but sometimes he went to the ground too early for me, his decision making as well. But again, he's not played that much, so I want to see them start to get a run of games and come to the boil.
You're absolutely right. Palmer, you were like, oh, you're right, oh, brilliant, dinks in and out. Then when he goes to pull the trigger, nothing. It looked a wee bit namby-pamby. But it's early days, you can't expect these guys to hit the ground. So if anybody expects things to happen right away, just remember Larsson's first game, remember?
Yeah, of course.
People said we should swap him for Chick Charnley now the next day, and the Sunday night phone in. So listen, see this game tomorrow, Tony. I would rather go to Pittodrie or Tynecastle. I hate this. I said this to you before on the podcast last year. This is a Beecher's Brook, as I call it. This is a Beecher's Brook, and you could easily come unstuck. This is one of these ones where all that good work. Rodgers said before, he hates this pitch. He's never seen a good game of football on a plastic pitch. You know, the fact that they're playing on AstroTurf and they've just come out of playing in Europe is just, it's bizarre. Yeah. Only in this. So I hate that ground. I hate that game. And I'm looking at it going, no. I don't care if we get the ugliest 1-0 win. I do not care how we scrape. I don't care if nobody gets a 5 out of 10 performance. Get in there, get a result and get out of there. I'm not expecting showboating from the new signings. It's just a horrible, horrible plastic pitch. And as I say, I call it Beecher's Brook. You could easily have a big fall there, and then that's all the brilliant result that I over and done with. It's a horrible wee ground. It's one of these ones, ugly win of any kind will do me tomorrow, and that's it.
Yeah, I think it is about being professional, clinical, and getting out of Dodge City with all 3 points, really, isn't it?
Yes, that's exactly it. You can't look in. I spoke to a few players when I was doing a corporate night, and they were saying it's like playing on a Brillo pad. It's horrible. I mean, I know people say, "Oh, you're a professional player, you should be." Yeah, but you shouldn't really. They're playing in grass every week. They're paid. They're training on grass. They're not, and it's just unacceptable. But as Brendan says, he's not making any excuses, although he kind of is before it. I'm not making any excuses. It's a plastic park. I'm not using that plastic park AstroTurf as an excuse already. Plastic park. Right.
Listen, Des,
So,
you'll be old enough to remember the original Helen Vale in Glasgow, which is
I do.
basically concrete painted green and white with the
I
lines,
remember, yes.
and the ball just took an incredible bounce, and
Well,
it was unreal. It was like Star Trek, wasn't it? It was football, Jim, but not as we know it. Basically, right?
well,
I always find that it's at Livingston. It's football, Jim, but not as we know it.
this is why, the going away to Rugby Park and going away all these. This is why they get results, because it's just it must be murder to play on. It's a horrible. But you're right about Helen Vale. For anyone not from the east end of Glasgow, this was a wee park, wasn't it? Towards Brigton, neck of the woods, yeah, Helen.
Yeah.
And I remember playing on it. And back in the day, if you were playing on AstroTurf, you thought you were playing for New York Cosmos or something. Remember Tampa Bay Rowdies? Remember when it was all the players were all Haley and when all that, some cracking football tops back in the day. Remember? So when it was so you thought, oh my God, AstroTurf, this is the future. No, it wasn't the future. It was as much the future for football grounds as the Sinclair C5 was for motors. Yeah.
For some people, it was career ending. Never mind the future.
Yes.
For players, they get horrendous injuries on it. So I still, and I'm maintaining, I think lots of people are the same. I understand why clubs at Livingston and Kilmarnock have plastic pitches, but they should not be acceptable in any top flight league in Europe, in my own opinion. Right? I stress that's my own opinion. I just don't think it's conducive to a good game of football at all. I think it hands clubs that play on it on a regular basis an unfair advantage.
Of course it does.
And and so I think they should be ripped up and replaced with what you play on every day, and that's grass. But I understand the economics and the finances dictate for some of the smaller clubs that they have to have a synthetic surface. But I just think they should be banned in every top flight league in Europe. That's just my own opinion, and I've always thought that, because I just don't think you see a good game of football on it at all. I don't remember seeing a good game of football on it ever. I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing it.
No, and Brendan has made this point a few times since the game was up. There's things like that must put. I don't know what you think, but things like that must put off big players and managers coming here when they go, "Oh, we're going to this round and it's a plastic pitch." What in this day and age? If it's if they can't get a grass pitch, then tough, them's the breaks. But if you're playing at this level, this is the SPL. These teams are playing in Europe and they're coming back to play on a plastic pitch. Not good enough. And I'm the same as you. In my opinion, if you don't have a grass pitch, you can't be into the league. Simple as that.
Brown Warrior comes in. We used to play in a black ash pitch in Rossi. I've played in black ash pitches before. Still picking black ash out my knees to this day. I felt like a Russian Detto after a slide tackle.
We're going to get all that coming now. Listen, McLean, I used to play up at the pitches in the red ash, and you would slide, and it was as if you were shot with a blunderbuss. Don't give me that. AstroTurf. We used to. So that it's going to come into.
It's going to go Monty Python, isn't it? AstroTurf, luxury. You used to play broken glass.
We played in the middle of Hugginfield Lock in the water. Two of the boys, they drowned, never seen them again. That was a bit. So let's not go down there. All I'm saying is, I agree with you, Tony. AstroTurf, plastic pitch, call it what you like. It's not on. And they have got an advantage. Somebody was saying the other week there, it's 22 players on a pitch. They only every other week they're playing on that, and they soon get used to how the ball spins, how they play, how they know it. So it's like they've got a massive advantage there. But as I say, I'll take an ugly 1-0 tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Just any kind of win, because I make the point that you've got a chance to go 7 points ahead of Rangers 24 hours before they play. You have to take these advantages whenever you're afforded them, and they're going to be handed a few of those advantages this season because Celtic are in the Champions League and Rangers are in Europa playing on Thursday nights. They'll be playing on Sunday, so this is the first chance they've got to go 7 ahead and put real pressure. So any kind of win, Des, just be professional, do a job, be clinical, and hopefully they can come out of it injury-free as well. and just with a win. I'd take any kind of win right now. Yeah, of course.
That's it. As I said the last time when Celtic were finally riding on to win the league with Ange, and we had that wee game away like tomorrow, and I said it was coming up before and you agreed with me. This is, as I called it, the Beecher's Brook. Get over this tomorrow. The Beecher's Brook.
Yeah. But going 7 ahead's a psychological thing as well, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Just a wee seed of doubt in your opponent's mind as well when they're going to play.
They know that when they're going to play that game, slip up and they're 7 behind. Up here, realistically, 7 points is a massive, massive gap up here because the pressure's massively on Beale then. That's it. Yeah. We know that it doesn't matter how well he does in Europe. We've seen that before with Broncos. If you're 7 points behind and you've slipped up again, then that's it. They'll watch every move after that. That's it. The pressure's massively on them. So yeah, you need to take advantage. I just wish it wasn't Livingston away tomorrow. I'd have been happy with Easter Road, Tynecastle. Give the good players. Put them all out there. But it's just because it's that pitch and that ground. It's just one of the little places you hate going, and you just think the worst. And then 12:30 kick-off tomorrow, come 2:00 or whatever, just a thing where you will like, right, 3 points, it's 3 points, simple as that, take them and move onwards.
Yeah. Sorry, just trying to... Any kind of win, says Michael McSee, any kind of that's it. Yep, that's what we've just said there. There's a couple other... Jill Powell came in and said that it's Livingston. Talking about Livingston, should be taking 4 off them, and T1 says it should be an easy win for Celtic. But
I just want it overdone.
It should be. On paper it should be, but Celtic have had their problems before. I know Ange went there twice and won pretty easily, but he lost his first time there, didn't he? 1-0. So. Yeah. So it's given Brendan Rodgers teams problems in the past as well. So it's never ever easy when we go there, and even when they do win comfortably, there's always some concern and doubt before the result is guaranteed. So I'm like you, I would prefer not to be going to Livingston tomorrow, but Celtic are going to Livingston tomorrow, and I just hope they can put on a show and play the way they did certainly the first half against Feyenoord. And if they can do that and replicate that, then it should be enough to beat Livingston. Francis PC Green, don't be arrogant, go out and win the battles and win the war. Yeah, you earn the right to 3 wins at home in the Champions League, and we're panicking about Livingston. I'm not panicking about Livingston. It's just one of those games where whenever they come along in the calendar, you just don't look forward to it because you're not going to see a good game of football. And Celtic like to get the ball about and pass it about, and on that surface, it's nigh impossible at times. Edward Moore coming in, 4-1 Celtic, says Edward Moore. So there you go. So yeah,
you're right, panicking, but it is a wee bit of a banana skin. Make no mistake, not because of the quality of Livingston, it's just because of that pitch. Or just airing.
Great leveller and all that kind of stuff, as they say in football. But I don't have any qualms quality-wise about the players and the personnel that Celtic put out tomorrow. Of course, they should be able to take care of Livingston. But again, you look at that pitch, it's just not conducive for Celtic and has caused them problems in the past. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, those that are confident, 4-1s and 3-0s, good show. Yes. That's fair enough. You're entitled to that opinion as well. Be 3 points in a party, says B. Well, there you go. Alistair Ross, more pragmatic, just go out there and get the job done. That's exactly what Des and myself are saying. Just get the job done. We can worry about style and finesse later on, but just win the game. That's basically the instruction, isn't it? Go 7 ahead, put the pendulum of pressure back onto Rangers, who play 24 hours later. That's all you can ask for, really, isn't it?
Yes, and going back to last week's game, right, it was a very, again, Celtic fans, impatient, fickle, I totally get it, right, we want to win all the time. At half-time last week, right, at Parkhead, it was, this is worse than St Johnstone, all this stuff. And then see the second half, what a difference. And you must, everybody's saying, this is, now we're seeing, the people who are saying, right, that's it, I knew this is Rodgers at his best, this is worse than St Johnstone. And then when we're 3-0 up, it was like, this is now the kind of team, we're now seeing Rodgers' style and team. Talk to the guy who gets sacked, what you know about. So the second half did look like a kind of a Ange ball, dare I say it. I hate using the term now, but it was a kind of a attacking, aggressive, pressing. It was a great second half. I was happy with that. I thought now we're moving forward. That was good.
Yeah.
And I thought we could kick on for that. Wasn't expecting being down to 9 men on the Wednesday night, but that's Celtic, never a dull moment. But it would have been good if we'd have just kicked on for that, got a decent result. We were really good in the first half, and it was really unlucky. But let's get back on the horse tomorrow and get 3 points. Simple as that.
Yeah, back in the domestic side, but I was quite pleased with the first half up until the free kick in Holland, so, and the second half against Dundee, it could have been more than 3. So, yeah, Raymond Haddon making the point that Celtic have done well at Livy lately, bring them on. Yeah, I'm hoping that continues to be the case. Yeah, they won very well twice under Ange, played them off the park. So, Edward Moore coming in saying, do you think there'll be some changes for tomorrow? Would you reckon there's same 11 that started we were talking about a minute ago, or do you mix it up?
We don't know how Rodgers feels. We know how he feels about going to Livy in that pitch, but does he play it accordingly? Do you get guy? I don't know. I mean, you can't win. You've got to put a team out there that starts to get used to playing with one another. And if that means going to Livingston, then so be it. I don't know if we really need to make. I would maybe stick with that second half type that we had. I would stick with Hatate. I like the idea of Hatate, O'Reilly, and McGregor. A lot of people were saying McGregor was off it the other night as well. That's what happens when you're a guy who's 8 or 9 out of 10 every game. He's brilliant at Ibrox. That was a midfield for me. I think O'Reilly's going to have a great season. He was great at Ibrox. And I think I would like to see the A3. We can do nothing about what he put with the centre half positions. We can do nothing about the defence. It's a patch-up job. We don't have the luxury to go, I think I'll take him out, and I think we don't have that luxury at the back. Forward, it's down to Brendan to see if he thinks, you can't drop Kyogo. Does he put Maeda? Yeah, I think at the moment we don't really have the luxury to be able to kind of pick and choose who goes where defensively wise. But once again, Taylor's back. He's a whipping boy again. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
He's not. Whenever things that isn't happening, it's like, Taylor, you're another dud. The guy has one back, and no doubt they're all going to come and go. The guys had about 4 or 5 back in. So when you're a whipping boy once, you'll come back to it. Yeah. So poor Taylor's a kind of thing. But defence wise, we don't have much choice. Mid to forward, I don't really trust what he brings in, to be honest, because there's a lot of quality. There's a lot of guys I'm still quite excited to see the best of,
Yeah. I'm erring on the side of starting with the same team that started the other night and giving them a chance to, replicate certainly the first 40 odd minutes of that game, because they look very comfortable against, as you say, the top, the champions in the Dutch league. And I think if they could stroke it about like that against Livingston, then they should more or less take care of them. It's all very well in theory. It's the practice, isn't it, that you kind of hope all goes to plan. But again, it depends what the match. Defensively, you see his hands forced, isn't it? It's going to be Lager, Bielka and Scales, isn't it?
Aye. And by the way, Scales, his last 2 games, he's been the best man.
Yeah.
Celtic, no other club. It's crazy. It's the most unpredictable fairy tale. Who'd have thought, if somebody said to you, we'd be doing to 9 men, what would you get? What would be the betting for that, being down to 9 men, but only losing 2-0 to the team who won the league, right, in the Netherlands? You'd be like, what? 9 men? But who would have thought that Scales would be man of the match at Ibrox and over in Rotterdam? And he was our best player again. And St Johnstone inside out.
I thought Celtic had 3 players on Tuesday night that were excellent. Scales was one of them, Alistair Johnson was the other, and Matt O'Reilly was the other. But 3 out of 11 in a Champions League night, you just can't have that. You might get away with that domestically in Scotland at a push, but you certainly won't get away with it in Europe. But you have to credit Liam Scales. He's come in and did a job, and more than done a job. And I wasn't too sure if he was man of the match at Ibrox, but he got it, so that's fair enough. But he was certainly excellent the other night. I thought he was outstanding the other night, and he can hold his head up high. Alistair Johnston can as well, and Matt O'Reilly too. So, but it's just too many of our big game players like Celtic down the other night. And as you say, they just have to be trusted to go out, get on the domestic saddle again, and just show what they're about again.
Listen, as I said at the start of the show, all things considered, we came away with a 2-0 defeat with 9 men. Hart saved a penalty and there was 2 goals disallowed. I would say, all things considered, we got away with it. You know what I mean? It's a 2-0 defeat in Europe against the top of the tree in the Dutch League. You're thinking, well, there's no actual. I know we want to win every game, but that's not like a disgrace or it's like one of these away. Consider 9 men as well.
Yeah.
So I think we should dust ourselves doing and get on with it. But we must, as you said, we must win the 3 games at Parkhead. We must.
Yeah, I think that's a must. And and at this moment in time, there's a lot of doom and gloom merchants and naysayers, but we've got to flip that narrative. We just have to start winning Champions League games, and especially at home. And we have to believe that we can win them. And I certainly believe that we can win them. Until the final whistle goes and they've lost, I refuse to believe that they can't win a Champions League game against any opposition at Celtic Park. And I think, we struggle away from home. We get that. And it's poor, and it has been poor for the best part of 20 years, but there's no excuse not to be competitive and claiming scalps at home. Just none whatsoever, in my opinion.
You're absolutely right, and I don't know if it's a psychological thing away, but we need to do better. But there's no excuse. Celtic Park, 3 games. We might not get a better chance, because this was probably when those 3 teams came out. I thought, for once, we're not going to get that group of death. It's usually, another group of death, another group of death. There's no real serious, they're all doable. They're all beatable. Let's be honest.
I'll look at those 3 teams, Des. They don't frighten me. They don't frighten me as much as a Real Madrid or a Barcelona or a Manchester City or a Bayern Munich would have frightened me. So I think, okay, let's have a rip at it. And I think they were minutes away from having a rip at it the other night, because had they gone in at 0-0, they would have done something and changed the mindset and thought, do you know what, this is here for the taking. They didn't get that, fine. So now we have to just concentrate on the home games at European level and claiming all 3 scalps. People will tell you they'll not beat Lazio, they'll not beat Atletico Madrid. Yeah, and they'll not beat Feyenoord. I refuse to believe it until they lose or the draw or whatever. But I'm confident that Celtic can go out there and get something from all 3 of those games, and I'm confident that they can actually go and win all 3 of them.
Definitely. I mean, you're saying, people are saying we can't beat Lazio and all that. We managed to beat them away the last time. We've beaten Barcelona at home. That night against Man City, when we drew 3 each, when they came off the back of 11 wins in a row.
Yeah.
Celtic looked European class outfit that night. We can do it. We know we can do it. It's down to the belief. It's down to the tiger. Do you know Pally? Do you know Adrian? You ain't getting no shot at the title, and that's fine. But anyway, so
correct. It's all down to that.
4 points clear. We're 4 points clear. We're going to go to Livingston, get a result at any cost tomorrow, okay? And listen, the laugh is, I didn't understand all the doom and gloom that we got after the Feyenoord game, because we were making all these excuses. We went to Ibrox with half a team and we came away. But we didn't have it. We went over to Rotterdam with half a team as well. We didn't have the defence that we wanted, right? They 2 guys would never be first choice. And as I said, Hatate's not nowhere near match fitness. So, what were we expecting? 2-0, we'll take that one on the chin. 2 players sent off, and then we need to thump them 3 times at Parkhead. We need to take all 9 points. If we want to sit at the big boys table, we need to act like big boys, don't we?
Correct. exactly. Yeah, fed up of not getting a kick of the ball, mister. We need to take part. You know what I mean?
And that's what Brendan came back for. Brendan Rodgers came back
So
to sit
we
at the big
believe.
boys in Europe.
Yeah.
And that's it. So we can't go, we get beat by, we get knocked out another group. And it wasn't even a group of death. It was just kind of the teams are all right. And as I say, that I was very surprised the other night. They were ordinary. The atmosphere was
so was I.
I went there and got a result. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow, all roads lead to Livingston and the chance to go a magnificent 7 points ahead of Rangers. Celtic have to take that. That's over an hour, guys. It's just I wasn't even aware of the clock in the top left. But there you go. Hope you've enjoyed that. It's always a pleasure having you on, Des. Good laugh, and as he's about to show, bend it like Bertie for the last time in the pavilion.
It's coming up to Christmas, okay? And this is a wee Christmas present. The Pavilion Theatre, Glasgow. Bend it like Bertie. A brilliant, emotional, hysterical, magical play featuring myself as Bertie Auld. It really is something special, and it's direct from Vegas. So that's a wee Christmas present for you. Sorted out.
And it's over 300 odd people joining us live on the stream today, which is excellent numbers. We try and give you entertainment as well as talk about the club that you support and love, and we hope you've enjoyed that today. It's been entertaining as always. As I say, this gentleman is the best comedian on the circuit in Scotland at this moment in time, and I'm privileged to call him a friend as well. So thanks very much, Des. I always appreciate it coming on. I always enjoy it when you share your views on Celtic, because like us all, he's a mad, passionate Celtic supporter. You probably see him. He can't sit still either. So he's people saying he's very hyperactive. But you're always getting entertainment when Des McLean's around. So I can't thank you enough for coming on, Des, and sharing your thoughts and views.
Listen, it's been my pleasure. It's been brilliant, and I always love our chats, whether we're live or whether it's on the phone or whether it's we always blather all day and we always forget about the clock. So thanks to everybody who tuned in and for all your kind comments. And so 4 points clear, onwards.
Yeah, indeed. Now, guys, if you've enjoyed that, remember and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All the videos on that are free and podcasts and all that. But we also want you to subscribe to the website, and that's £4 for 4 months for access to everything that's written on the website. Hit both subscribe buttons, and if you do the website, it's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. It's tremendous value for money. We try and, as I say, cater to everybody's needs on the website. Some wonderful reads on there. But all that remains for me to say is enjoy your weekend. As I say, it's always result dependent. Early kickoff tomorrow. Let's go to Livingston and get the job done. Des, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, thank you for all your comments in the comment section. Really appreciate it. You're always very kind. And we shall reconvene. And Des, I'm sure it won't be the first or the last time you're on the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. Thank you very much.
It's been great. Have a great weekend, everybody. Cheers.